Today, on Faith on Tap, we're talking about making decisions with your heart or with your head. So where do most people seem to fall? What kind of framing does the average person use to address this question?
The heart leads to the decision, but the head helps keep things on track. So it's the combo platter. It's the 50-50.
Are we biologically or even physiologically designed to approach decisions one way or another?
The delineation between heart and your gut too, thinks, because you can go with your gut and not necessarily have it be strictly an emotional experience. All emotional. It's just, in fact, it could be going against what you think is correct and or the right decision or the decision you feel best about. It can go stand in the face of those things.
Does Scripture identify this as a black and white issue, or is it more of a middle ground?
The Bible talks about the heart being just corrupt beyond measure.
Desperately wicked.
Desperately
Who could
wicked.
know it?
But I think if you read through the scriptures, you get a sense that it's both and.
And the heart is redeemed.
Yeah, exactly. And so emotions aren't necessarily a bad thing, but too much or just pure emotional response could leave a little bit to be desired at that point.
These thoughts and many more today on Faith on Tap. Once again, we are at the Bad Dog Brewery in Torrington, Connecticut. And once again, we have a fire truck in the middle of the brewery. It's a really neat retro place. They took over an old firehouse, and it has a great feel. It really does. Last time we went, we were questioned whether it would be a food truck or not. So we ate at home, and that was a good thing because there's no food truck here.
There's no truck here today. It's cold, I guess.
We used our own eggs. We had I call them Westerns. I'm not sure if
I'm not sure if they're real true Westerns, but very yummy.
Omelet with mushrooms, peppers, onions.
Yep.
And then some bacon on the side. So
Quite
that's
yummy.
That's our food truck experience for the day. And Dennis is absent once more. His sickness is telling. He's not dangerously sick, but whatever he had really affected him in a big way. He will be available for the post discussion. So stay tuned for that.
And we'll still make fun of him.
Oh, absolutely. The topic today, Liz and I disagree with how people respond, but the question is, do you think you make your decisions based more on your heart or your mind? At first told Liz, I don't think this is a good question. I was going to go with, and when I say mind, Liz says heart. It's like, what? So I think most people will go, I make my decisions with my brain, my mind, but you.
Yeah, I have a feeling most people are going to say with their heart. And all of you listeners at home are probably already yelling at Mark, telling him he's wrong.
Yeah.
So,
if you're,
I'm not saying one or the other
all you
is
middle
correct.
school girls.
Right, sure. There'll be no guys here who say that.
No, none. Zero.
Okay.
There's not many people here to ask, so hopefully it picks up a little bit. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what they have to say. Do you make your decisions based more on your heart or your mind?
I don't know. It depends on what it is.
Most of the time, would you say a decision has to be made, is it a response from emotion or is it a response on a thought process you're going through?
Probably mind.
And do you think that helps you more in life?
Not necessarily. I think it depends on the situation.
Can you give anything specific? It don't have to be personal, but anything specific where you made a decision based upon reasoning and it turned out good or bad?
I don't know if I could really think about it, but I do think I think more than I...
So something bad happens to you and your first reaction, your thought might be something, but your first reaction, you're going to reason it out. You're just not going to make an emotional decision yourself.
I feel like I'm half and half then. Because yes, definitely sometimes I feel like you just make a spontaneous decision based on emotion. But I feel like a lot of, if I have the time to think about it, then I do try.
Do you think that helps or hurts you in life being that type of thinker?
I don't know. I feel like that's also a 50-50.
Okay, so you
It depends on the situation.
Emotional when you were hurt, and that's
I guess that got me, yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like thinking now.
Angry.
Well, I'm still angry. But now I think about it more. I feel like being more emotional, those decisions sometimes have worse outcomes. Where if you think about it, you think about everyone in the situation.
Or you tried it anyways.
You try to.
But being logical, does that hurt anything? Any part of you, like a deeper level of you? Does that?
Sometimes I'm like, I wish I just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if you're spiritual at all, but does that reflect, thinking logically or thinking emotionally reflect on anything about bigger things? Should you be more logical? Being more emotional is better or worse for that?
I don't think so. Like I said, I think that sometimes if you react emotionally, it can affect others. But like if you think about it more, then you're more likely to think about how it's going to affect you and everyone else.
Okay. You want to give it a shot?
I could say 50-50 too. But
Really?
I think I respond more to emotion. I don't think I'm as logical. I think I'm in like emotions. Because when people try to spew logic on me, I get annoyed. I'm like, this is how I feel.
You get annoyed at
Like
what?
if he's like trying to think logical, oh, don't say that because then it's going to affect XYZ. I'm like, that's how I feel.
But isn't that
I'm
the
gonna
normal
say, okay, I'm gonna say
guy
it.
woman thing where you have a problem and as guys a problem solver say, here's what you need to do. You hate to hear that. Yeah.
See,
but
yes.
this is how we're hardwired though.
But he's a very logical thinker. So I already know his answer. That's how he is just to his core. He's thinking like 10 steps ahead. I'm not. Yeah. Like if he has to respond to tough text, it's going to take him days. He's got to think about it.
Well, we're going to ask him how he is and a quick decision making though, because that's why I'm kind of asking, what if I said
He doesn't.
I
will.
Don't be offended by this example.
No.
Say someone's coming in with a gun. What's your first reaction going to be? Is it going to be logical or are you going to be emotional about
Oh no, I'm going to be emotional.
Yeah.
For sure.
So your first response is emotion, but are you going to act on that emotion? That's the thing, I guess, where I'm asking.
I might just say, take me out. I don't have to go to work tomorrow.
Oh, stop.
I'm an emotional person. For sure.
So you are an emotional person, but it doesn't mean you have to act on your emotions all the time. But you're saying you're 50-50, so.
I guess I would say 75-25. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I act out of emotion like 75% of the time.
All right.
And then the 25% of the time that I act out of logic, I'm really, really proud of myself. I really hype myself up.
Do you find one being more beneficial than the other?
I would say like in fights or when you're like arguing with someone, you want to be logical.
Well, obviously for debating,
But in terms of dumb stuff I've done in the past out of like an emotional decision, I would do it again.
You would?
Yeah. If that's why I wouldn't change the past.
Fun.
Great
stories.
I have fun. I have great stories.
Give me one.
I had a very crazy relationship. I'll say that.
Okay.
A crazy relationship that only maybe like 5 people know about.
And it was bad for probably everyone involved. But
it was a bad idea for all of us.
Okay.
But my emotions were like, this is fun. Let's just do it.
Okay.
Who cares?
Okay.
Now that I'm past that.
How old were you when you made those decisions?
22. I was young. I probably shouldn't make those decisions
And
now.
you're 24 now, right?
Oh, I wish. I'm 28. I did. Yeah.
So that emotional decision you made, you regret.
No, I
don't regret.
No, I don't regret.
Even though it was dumb and it hurt everybody.
Yeah, I probably sort of regret it. Life. If I didn't do that, it probably wouldn't have led me to other people in my life.
Big on the universe making it right. It seems like it's like so. Do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe in the universe? Do you believe in God?
Not that I don't believe in God. I think that there is a higher power. I believe in karma, I guess you could say. I believe in karma. I believe in just living your life how you want to, because we work in hospitals. We see tragic things all the time. My life could end tomorrow. Why do I want to be logical all the time? I don't want to be logical.
Right.
Like I want to just have fun.
Right.
So,
you can't have fun if you're logical.
But you're only logical 50% of the time.
So you only have fun 50% of the time, apparently.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
I think the logical part of me would have said no to a lot of things.
But you're saying you regret that, so you really don't want to be logical all the time. Okay.
No, I like the way I am.
That's all. You're very comfortable in your skin.
Yeah, mentally.
That's 90% of the battle. Thank you so much. Do you act your decision making based upon your emotions or your mind?
Definitely mind. 9 out of 10. 99 out of 100 times.
What would be that 1% time that wouldn't? What would have to happen?
I don't know. If something is said that is triggering.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that.
If something is like, I don't know, if something, just strikes a chord that gets your emotions going like right away, brings an emotion out of you, then I guess that will bring an emotional response. But 9 out of 10 times, I probably overthink stuff.
So that'd be a bad thing if you overthink.
Probably is, yeah.
Because what could be
it's the way I operate.
So what happens with overthinking?
A negative overthinking it? Well, you get lost in your thoughts. And you end up making either a poor decision, or maybe not poor in terms of like the result, but maybe incorrect. You did something you didn't have to do because you created scenarios in your head that weren't really there, yada, yada.
So, for example, if you're to propose to her right now.
Yes, I love that.
The reasons what you have a list in your head of yes, reasons why, reasons no?
I would love to know.
No, I don't have. No.
That would be a logical approach.
There's no reasons no.
Oh.
Then,
Liar.
well,
I'm waiting for the right time, Mark. I told you this the other day. I waiting for the right time.
What would have to happen for the right time?
See, if she knew the future, then the whole surprise would be killed.
Right now, you could say, "Will you marry me?" Right now, you could. What would stop you? There's zero reason.
I need a ring.
She would take a piece of cloth tied around, put around her finger.
I need a ring, and then I'd hear from her mom and dad for not asking.
So, are you saying the wheels are in motion? Then
the wheels are in motion. I got a whole plan, Mark. I got a plan.
I don't think he knows the plan.
The logical guy knows the plan.
Yeah.
Logical thinker.
So that logical thinker is making love is purely mine then, or you make your decision to love someone based upon emotion?
Oh, the decision to love somebody's emotion, but the decision to propose, that's
too much logic.
That's about
So
perhaps you're overthinking.
Did you decide to love her emotionally or with your mind?
No, emotionally.
So that would be with the 1% of the time, or maybe it's more than 1% then.
For what?
Well, you said 99% of your decision making is based upon logic, but then you said you fell in love with her deeply, I believe you said.
Yeah.
And
I said 99 out of 100. So
she's a 1%. She's a rare item.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Why would you let her go then?
I'm not. I don't plan on it.
Okay.
However you make a decision, there's pros and cons to it. Like, I mean, after the fact, hindsight's 2020. There's always be able to look back and say there's right decisions and wrong decisions. Right. But
for example, the reason why you're not proposing to her today would be a wrong decision, you think? Or,
yeah, I feel pretty good.
You owe me $20, by the way. I figured you would.
As long as you're confident in how you get your decisions, then you go with it. You're not going to be right all the time.
And is there any spiritual aspect to your decision making, or is it purely logical?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm out
so you're a naturalist. Everything is as an.
I mean, I think that I don't know.
You're ready to marry him, and you don't know this question.
I got time to think about that. I'll give you an answer in a few days. No, I think there's a God, but yeah, no. I mean, I'm not a spiritual guy. I don't go to church, stuff like that.
Well, I don't think
I need this guy right here too.
Up your hoop.
But you're 50-50, you're 75-25, and you're 99-1.
Yeah.
And you're not going to comment because you're too scared.
John is sitting out.
Oh, woo. That's rough.
This guy's.
You don't like the personal questions I take it. What's your favorite baseball team? Oh, that's why we're not having this discussion. Okay. No, I can't talk much. Being a Red Sox fan, I have nothing to be proud of these days. But then again, you don't either. You have no regrets in your life on decisions in the past or the present. You have no regrets on how you think. You're just a happy person. You're very content with yourself.
I'm content. I'm content with the decisions I've made.
Being a single person the rest of your life.
And how I've gotten here, yeah. You always be able to go back and say you could change this, but then you don't know what that cause effect. I'm good. I'm good with where we're at.
Well, that's good. Now you revealed something about yourself. You revealed something to me. So I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Hi, Kevin. So the first question was, should you follow your heart or your head? Where are you?
I have now learned it depends.
Okay, tell me, what are the depends elements of this?
So I can give you a circumstance that happened this week.
Okay, Kevin, let's hear it.
I have a dog, Belle. I love her desperately.
Was she here before?
Yes, she was.
Okay, I met her.
Yep.
I met Belle.
Beautiful girl. I have no sense of smell, so she's actually service designated. This week, she had a stomach bug. She had an exceptionally bad bowel movement. The reason I'm recounting this story is I used my heart there with no head. That is, I brought her to the vet despite having a ton of work to do and despite everything going on, and that is what mattered most. She's recovering. She'd usually be here with me. She's obviously very, very unique circumstances of the service designation. But
very cool.
I usually have her with me.
I know, it's so hard.
And just not having her is anxiety and disease. The reason I'm here right now is I'm writing code for a very urgent project that had test for me. But that project became nothing the minute Al became ill.
Everything falls away.
So mind and your brain is working in most cases. Like I use logic to approach a circumstance, but when it comes to family, pets, etc., well, pets are family.
Yes.
But when it comes to family and friends, it doesn't matter. Nothing this in here matters enough to...
Your love for that family member is overwhelming.
I'll go into bankruptcy.
But
No, seriously.
I know. And your
it doesn't
head
matter.
would say, it's
Bad
an
idea.
animal.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Doesn't matter.
But nope, that baby belongs right there in your heart.
Right.
But making that decision is also, there's, if I don't take her, your head is also telling you, if I don't take her, it could get much worse.
I was on the phone with the vet immediately after it happened.
Yes.
There was no question.
So that's, I like it. So your heart directed you to those decisions, but your head helped you stay on track.
Correct.
And do it right. So that's actually a really nice synthesis, which is, I think,
I agree.
I think it's the most profound experience of those two things. I mean, it sounds like a dichotomy. It's one or the other, but
it's not.
They really should work in conjunction. And I think your story illustrates that better than I could have written.
Not a story I would have wanted to recount. I was saying earlier, it's even today, anxiety very high. And circumstance like that, you need to be kind to yourself and realize that your anxiety will be higher just by virtue of you being worried about your loved. I can tell you, every one of my friends heard immediately and were reaching out.
Yes, good.
Full support.
There's something beautiful out there that we can foster and hang on to and appreciate. So that's beautiful. I love that.
So, Liz, how's life on the farm?
It's like I'm starring in a sitcom where the punchline is more manure.
Okay. That's a sitcom I don't want to watch, but okay.
Oh, come on. We both live this.
I don't want to watch it, though.
When it hits the fan.
And that person talking is the beacon of belief.
The beacon of belief. I will allow that.
I am trying to get mediocre in my responses, so you're not happy with it. I got to try even harder.
Well, the mediocrity in that title is astounding. But
all right, thank you. I tried hard to be mediocre.
It's still an acceptable title. So,
all right. So the question we were asking the people, and when I say we, it was Liz and I. You were playing hockey hooky.
Hockey, hooky.
You're hocking stuff up, a little bit of everything. He was very under the weather, under the bed, under everything.
Under the covers, under the...
He's ready to go. You heard what our guest had to say, and the topic was, do you make your decisions based more on your mind or on your heart? In other words, is it illogical when you process information? How much of it is emotional? How much is it logical? And is there a split? Is it more dominant? It was funny. We're going to ask this question. And I said to Liz, I don't think we should maybe even do this question because everyone's going to say, it was like a sitcom. And I said, everyone's going to say mind. And you said, no, heart. It's like, what? So I said, all right, I guess this is worth asking because we both disagree. I guess our takeaway is, I don't know who won. Kind of a mixture.
Seems like there's some good balance. Yeah,
so I think I won.
I
think probably after asking the questions, it could have been divided into two separate questions. One is, what's your first reaction? Is that emotional or logical? And then your decision, when you make your decision, is that more the heart or the mind? Because that's what it seems like when people are answering the questions, that's how they were answering it, and probably more fair too. But right now, I talked to personally Justin, Michaela, and
Brooke.
It was funny because they really enjoyed the questions. And I think it was Brooke, she said that I'm about 50-50. Half the time I make my decisions on emotions, some other times on logic. And then I think it was Michaela that was 75-25. But our odds are changing all the time.
I like how you can make these numbers.
It was about 50-50, and then it was 75-25.
Yeah, those numbers are...
Wasn't she the one that said, and when I use my brain, I celebrate myself or something?
Something like that. Yeah. It's kind of funny how all of us just process information. Then her boyfriend or fiance, Justin, he was 99-1, a very logical person.
Still not believing it.
Well, I don't think anyone was 99-1 because I asked him, when you fell in love with Michaela, was that all logical or is there emotion involved in that? Oh, that's different. Well, it's a decision you made, right? So, because you have to throw in love. That comes out of left field. When you love someone, it's not usually a logical reason at first. They were going all around their decisions on, they're giving specific decisions they've made and why it was logical, why it was emotional. And I thought it was very fair. You talked to Kevin, Liz. Is there anything specific that you want to say?
I think he was very representative of humans altogether. The first impulse is always going to be emotional. And what you do with it at that point determines, I think everything starts emotional. In a situation that anything that's charged at all,
I just don't know. I still don't know. After asking the questions, after preparing everything, I still don't know if that's always true. And the example I was giving is when you called last week, I'm at my sister's house helping with a computer, and I get a call, and it was about our dog. We got a bad report from the vet. Liz was very distraught, and I heard the information, and at that point, I'm processing it. And I said, I know I don't feel good about the information, but I need to rectify this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do this. So in my mind, all these things I'm going to do. And I said, I'll let those emotions out later or what have you, but my emotions aren't going to do any good at this point. I need to act. I don't know if it's suppressing them, but
I think shelve them for a moment.
I think you had a good quote, and I wrote it down when you were talking with Kevin, because he was talking about those heart decisions around the context of friends and family and his pet, his dog. And then you said something along the lines of the heart leads to the decision, but the head helps keep things on track. So it's the combo platter. It's the 50-50.
Yeah, I think we're designed that way.
Yeah, and I think we're designed for both those reactions, but I think every situation is different.
Oh, for sure.
And not every decision is the first reaction. My first reaction is always emotional. I mean, emotional as in I feel better, I feel happy. That's just a fleeting emotion, a biochemical reaction that's going on in my head. I don't react to it. I have a feeling, but then I process that feeling, and then I act either, okay, I'm just really sad, I'm going to be emotional over it, or I take that and go, okay, this is the best course of action. Maybe I'm a freak.
Well, I think a freak would be Mr. Spock. Does not process anything emotionally first. That's completely suppressed. But you're not that.
I'm very emotional.
You absolutely are. But you do have a discipline where you have it kind of like sidelined, and it may be whispering, but you will deal with it once the facts are dealt with. But it doesn't mean that your first thing isn't emotional. It's just that means that you have a way to
override it. That
emotion, not even
or?
Override. I think you harness it and just set it aside.
Remember, one of our goats was sick, and you had to drive, and I said, Liz, don't think about the pain or anything like that. Think that you have to get to the vet to save the goat. So just focus on that. Yeah. And so I was trying to put my mind into yours because I couldn't go because I was working at that point. I don't know. But probably why marriage is good, because we have competing ways of thinking through these situations, and hopefully combined that you get the right answer.
The delineation between heart and your gut too, thinks, because you can go with your gut and not necessarily have it be strictly an emotional experience. All emotional. It's just, in fact, it could be going against what you think is correct and or the right decision or the decision you feel best about. It can go stand in the face of those things.
In the world of biology, what you're talking about is the enteric system, which is a secondary nervous system, which is actually made out of the same kind of cells that your brain is made out of, but it lines your stomach. And so when people say go with your gut feeling, it is actually quasi-brain material. It's actually lining your stomach. Mm-hmm. The enteric nervous system. Let's make a song.
And hopefully we'll edit that out.
No, that's it.
That's got to be...
Before you tell me what you think your reactions are normally with emotions or heart, what I was going to do, I have a couple stories and a couple incidences, situations. I want you guys to tell me, is your first reaction, here we go. New York City faces record homelessness as shelters reach capacity. Do you have an emotional response at first? You have any type of logical, without giving your opinion on what you feel the reason is?
I have more of an objective response.
Okay.
I started out with emotional, but then an explanation was like simmering right behind it.
All right. Second, measles outbreak spreads in Texas and New Mexico.
Is indifference a...
Apathy is an emotion, yeah.
Because when I think of measles, I'm thinking of kids, and I'm thinking of kids suffering and or being sick and dying. So I'm thinking on an emotional level.
Well, people die with measles.
Yeah, very few.
But that's the emotional.
Okay.
I was going totally logic on that.
And here's one more before I get to a couple situations. The FAA adjusts helicopter traffic rules to avoid deadly crashes.
That's
every one of these stories is so loaded.
Well, I did this on purpose. I wanted to see if that loaded question would be emotional or
There's
logical.
No emotional response for me in that. That's just completely objective common sense.
Okay. And
that's just kind of both. It starts out with absurdity, emotion.
Okay.
No, I guess absurdity is more of a logic thing, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Here's a couple stories. and you tell me your feelings, not your opinions, but your feeling. Last week, you invited a friend over for dinner. You text him during the week, and he gives you an indication that he'll be coming. An hour before, he texts you and said he can't make it and doesn't really give you a reason.
Yeah, that's an emotional response. For me, anyway.
It's happened to me. I'm at this point where it's like, okay, it's not emotional. It's just like I move on.
See, it's really emotional.
See, it's not as much.
My reaction, it was very emotional. And I mean, come on. You couldn't have done anything. That's so selfish. You're thinking about yourself. I'm getting mad about that. All right, here's one. Your friend lost his job and needs $5,000 to avoid eviction. He borrowed $2,000 from you before and hasn't paid it back. What's your reaction? Well,
that's emotional.
That's emotional.
So I think we've found out that it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We have an initial response. From there, we decide what the best action would be.
Yeah, every one of those things that you did is all contextual.
Deliberately so.
Yeah.
This is a Christian podcast, so we're trying to figure out now, does a Bible address how you should react to that? I'll ask the beacon of belief.
Does the Bible address
reacting out of emotion, logic, or both, or a balance?
The Bible talks about the heart being just corrupt beyond measure.
Desperately wicked.
Desperately
Who could know
wicked.
it?
But I think if you read through the scriptures, you get a sense that it's both and.
And the heart is redeemed.
Yeah, exactly. And so emotions aren't necessarily a bad thing, but too much or just pure emotional response could leave a little bit to be desired at that point.
Well, and church recently has been criticized for being anti-intellectual. So the idea is, how dare you bring intellectualism into your faith? And
that's a real shortcoming in the church, that we've divorced science from faith. In my limited experience and or knowledge, science just proves God.
In a Christian perspective, when you're encountering a situation, what would be the ideal Christian way to handle how you react?
Again, it's so situational.
Well, and the two stories I gave you, the friend who's $5,000, borrowed $2,000 before, hasn't paid back, what's your reaction? You're going to have to talk to him. So before you talk to him, as a Christian, how would you handle the situation?
Obviously, there would be prayer involved. And through that prayer, I would hope that grace would fill my heart and there would be a softness there. If I've given this person $2,000 already, then they must be pretty close, because that's a lot of money. It would be hopefully pressing into faith as, okay, God, what's going on here? Discernment. And is this something you want me to do?
I remember having a discussion with my father in his later years, and he would confide with me a few things. But one time he goes to me, he goes, "Yeah, people say I'm not emotional because I don't cry and stuff like that. I have more emotions than probably all you guys put together. I just don't show it outwardly. Doesn't mean I'm not emotional." And I thought that was very accurate. And I feel the same way. Sometimes people think of me as stoic or what have you, but I'm full of emotions all the time. To me, it doesn't do any good to let out those emotions unless they're going to have positive results.
I've been accused of not having a heart by my own mother.
And that was yesterday.
It's when you think of the disciples, they're all men, and how emotional they were. And of course, Peter is always the one that's pegged for being terribly emotional. And he was reprimanded sometimes, And so he very emotionally, he defends Jesus and cuts off a guy's ear. And Jesus like, dude,
stop it.
No, I'm sure Peter was like, that was just one part of a very difficult few days. Jesus is expecting from us to hold both of those things carefully. And Jesus says, I want your mind, I want your soul, I want your heart, I want all of it. Don't hold any of it back. And you can't use, I'm just emotional as an excuse, or I'm just logical, that's the way I am. You can't use that as an excuse. They're all supposed to be captured by Jesus.
God gave us those gifts.
He created us.
Yeah. Well, on that note, as Dennis is contemplating life right now, that concludes our podcast for the day. Have a great one. Tune in next episode when you'll hear Dennis say,
like a good neighbor, State Farm was there.
Hey, awesome listener. If you're enjoying our podcast, give us a little love, like, share, follow, and snag this episode for later. It's the easiest way to keep the good times rolling and make our day. You're the best. Thank you.